the business, and the kind of data we are using as a supply chain or operation manager is the nature of data is not digital. So digital data is required to be first uh, stored well so that it will be secure enough, and if it is publicly available data, we have to actually do the data cleaning. What data cleaning means, we have to actually, from the junk of data available into public domain, which you can use as a firm for making decisions related to sales or any other related, domain which is related to customer preferences or anything related to customer, which is publicly available data, user generated data we call it. We can use it directly for decision making. We have to actually do the cleaning, extraction of data. Actually, we have to make a certain techniques are available, which is not the responsibility of supply chain managers. So they take help from the IT experts into that, data experts or data analysts into this process. And the data, when refined from unstructured to structured form, it can be used for decision making. So data could be of two forms. As a layman, we can understand data available to supply chain professionals is of two forms. First form is data which is available to them internally within the system, right? The sales they made in the past, for example, the volume they produce in the past 12 months, 14 months, 36 months, right? So, or any decision they took internally as an enterprise. Second data is data which is available in the public, right? Any Twitter data, social media data, right? So social network data. So that data can be also useful for you for making decisions related to more, more downstream decisions related to market, right? To explore more, preferences of the customers, to understand what could be the possible, product line or implementation in the products. So that data should require to be, it is required, as I've said, it is required to go through a process of refinement, because that data has a lot of errors. That data has a lot of redundancy also, repetition also, and the data is not actually reliable at the initial go, in the initial goals to make decisions. So here come, as we understand that data is nowadays is electronic. Yes, it's not structured. Data could be structured or unstructured. Internal data is much structured because you have a process for uh, data generation and data storage. And in the case of public data or data which is social media driven data, not everything is available. Not everything is what do you call it, as per your wish. So we have to do the refinement process. Aziz, is it clear to you? I think it should be clear to you. Is that
Yes, sir.
okay? Very good. So now, for any source or any kind of data, once we start doing, refinement and other stuff, once the data is available to you for analysis, you have different techniques. You have different ways to use data for making decisions, to use data for analysis purpose and further for decision making, right? So we will talk about data analysis time to time so that we can use it for, purposes. Now I wish to tell you about how data and the form of data has improvised over the period of time. Right, I'm talking about internal available data, which is internally being used by the organization. It is internally and picked from the market, of course, through sales offices, refined and put into the system for further understanding what will be the potential sale we can target upon, and therefore what will be the production to produce to satisfy that sale. I think you got this point clearly. Yes or no, everyone? That we are talking about data which should be used by the organization for production purpose. Okay, Satyam said yes. Okay, Aziz also understood what I wanted to say. Shalini also understood. Manish, yes. Okay, Manish also understood. Tejas, are you with us on this? Tejas.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Are you getting what I wanted to say?
Sir, can you please once again repeat?
Okay, I would just want. Okay, let me take an example. In the last quarter in 2019, 18-19 quarter first, for example. Quarter first means March, April, May. March to May. So March, the quarter first Q1, your factory, your sugar mill is able to produce 78,000 ton sugar, right? And before that, the same quarter in the last year, 2017-18, it was 63. This time it is 72, for example. Earlier it was 63. And this year, 2001, you were able to make it 75. Is it? So 63, 72, 75. Got it now? So based on the produce, based on the production you have done, you will do the production for the next cycle also, next quarter also. Because what is the motivation? What is the how you're getting the target value of production? You're getting target value of production based on the past production you did. And what is the reason behind doing production of this much of a ton or metric ton of sugar, right? The reason could be the sales actually. Okay, suppose I'm again setting one example. Suppose you set a sugar factory in year 2000, and let me have an introspection of last 20 years, consecutively 19 financial years. So in the first year, you produce only 1 ton of sugar. In second year, it was 2 ton. In the third year, it is 3 ton, and gradually, in the last financial year, it is 19 ton. So what is the expected production in terms of volume? It will be 20 ton. Tejas, are you getting my point clearly?
Yes, sir.
So in the layman language, I wanted to tell you that gradually 1 ton is being extended. Every year we have a demand increased by 1 ton because production is directly proportional to demand. Is it? Is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So every year 1 ton, 2 ton, 3 ton, 4 ton. Gradually every year your production is increasing because you are exploring more market and market become doubled theoretically. Just to make the example clear. Every year the market extended by double. It is getting double. Earlier in the first 2000 you have M1 with a capacity 1 ton. In second year you have M1 plus M2. So the capacity become total capacity of the market, total demand of the market become 1 ton plus 1 ton. In fourth year you have M1 plus M2 plus M3 plus M4. Total demand is 4 ton. So you have to produce 4 ton. We are not bothering about how you procure the ganna. We are not talking about that. We are only talking about the sales and demand. Is that clear? So now, if you go with the simple data, data is actually if you simply plot x and y axis, time versus sales made or unit produced, zero wastage है जितना बनाया सब बिक गया. So if you plot it in x and y axis, you find that जो linear curve बन के आ रहा है, right? Straight line बन के आ रही है. जितने प्रोपोर्शन में आपका समय बीत रहा है, एक्स बीत रहा है, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2012, 2030, 2020, और जिस रफ्तार से आपका प्रोडक्शन जा रहा है वो दोनों एक ही प्रोपोर्शन में जा रहे हैं. लीनियर कब बनेगा? सबको क्लियर है बात? लीनियर लाइन आएगी उज्जवल?
यस सर।
ठीक है ना तेजस, उज्जवल, ये क्लियर है?
जाएगी।
हाँ, बहुत क्लियर है. ठीक
Yes,
है.
sir. Yes, sir.
अगर मुझसे बोला जाए 2022 में कितना टन बनाओगे तो कितना, तो आपको क्लियरली बता पाओगे आप? इट इज 22 टन.
एक्सपोनेंशियली
इज
एक
इट?
इंक्रीज होगा।
हाँ, एक्सपोनेंशियल ग्रोथ हो रही है, मतलब बहुत क्लियर है, उसका फॉर्मूला बड़ा क्लियर है हमें. 1 टन एनहांसमेंट हो रहा है, डबल नहीं हो रहा है, 1 टन बढ़ रहा है बस. So it is not exponential, it is simply
Exponentially
linear.
growth.
So now importantly, if I ask my production manager how much you are going to produce in year 2022, they will simply say 22 metric ton or ton, whatever unit you are using. So actually this guy is doing production based on the sales forecasting we have. And the sale forecasting, the sale team is ascertaining the sale forecast based on the past performances he visualized. In the last 21 years, every year we have one increment in the sales demand. So therefore, we increase the production by 1 ton. So similarly, in 22nd year, since 21st year is having 21 ton of demand and 21 of sales made, 21 ton of sales made, zero wastage. Therefore, in 22nd year, we will have 22nd, you know. And similarly, you can forecast for 2050 also. You can forecast for 2070 also. Is it clear? As simple as a bookish example, as a theoretical example, right? But what happened is while we do the data analysis, this is simply a simple example of data analysis. We forget to understand one element called uncertainties in the business, where whatever we plan, we somehow sometimes we are not able to achieve what we have planned. There would be a lot of uncontrollable and controllable reasons, right? Reasons could be uncertainty in the demand. Probably people start, instead of sugar, because sugar is harmful. Somebody has said, some health doctor has said, or but WHO has released some guidelines and said, it's not good for the heart patients, right? So people start, using other mode, not jaggery, other, shakarkandi they are using, suppose. So because they have the same, sucrose can be generated through it, or the alternative they have. So because of substitute, larger market has moved from switched from sugar to the alternative A. So in that case, uh, what happened was this situation, this imbalance situation creates a kind of havoc in the kind of industry, sugar industry, and the whole this thing decline has to be faced by the sugar mills or sugar producing units. So this constraint you were not considering or taking into account initially, because from the last 22 years you're able to manage the show with the increment annual increment of 1 unit, 1 ton, 2 ton, 3 ton, 4 ton, right? So actually business environment is like this question, this example, where we have always having a struggle with the uncertainty which is caused by a lot of disruptions and which is caused by a lot of risk which is basically exist, but we normally avoid them. And you can take an example of this disruption which has happened because of COVID-19, the pandemic, and it has actually lowered down the economy, because whatever economy was expecting, whatever industries or firms were expecting, this thing is not being, this because of change in the market situation, people either deferred their demand, users or customers either deferred their demand or simply terminated whatever they planned for. For example, let me take another example beside to this. Suppose Shanli wanted to buy a four-wheeler SUV, and now she deferred. Simple, because for her SUV means to take her parents to some hill location during the vacation, but it is not as required. She can defer it and she can use that 16 lakh rupees for some other purpose, or maybe for the as a saving for the odd time. So people like Shanley, they deferred the investment or deferred the investment into non-commercial, vehicles. So because she is not seeing anything in this investment as a fruitful one, so she, instead of investing, she saved the money for the odd times, right? So similarly, a lot of households decided that they will not buy a car this year, right? So it leads to a lot of disturbance in terms of the projections that the automobile company was having, seeing the growth they had in 2019 18, 18 19 and 19 20. So this disruption was happened actually after March, when the new year starts, financial year 2020-21 starts. So whatever they planned as a forecasted value they derived from the past years, now that value is only a kind of figure in the Excel sheet. This figure is not workable. And same happened with every industry. And you can count on a lot of industries like entertainment industry. For example, Karan Johar, Karma Production is expecting that the last movie he made was able to hit 190 crores of box office collection, and previous to that it was able to make 100 crore of production, so have a 100 crore of collection. So this movie which he is going to release in year 2020 was expected to have 300 crores with some calculation he was having. Because of this disruption happened, people the the retail customer decided to defer or not to go to the cinema halls, and cinema halls were actually during the lockdown it was locked till the third phase of unlock situation. So actually this kind of government and government compliance or government corrective measures has deferred the growth of several industries like cinema halls and motor industry I was talking about. So it was unexpected, no? Before January or February, even March, April, it was unexpected that this thing will disturb the whole show. So we have to be clever now. We have to use data in two forms. Like I was telling, the data which is available in your so-called enterprise you were using, and based of that only, Tejas as a sugar mill head made the projection for 2020, 21, 22, 23, 24. But when the whole situation got a kind of disturbance, when people decided that they will not they will opt for some substitute to sugar, and they will not eat sugar, so the demand will be uh, obviously the demand will be disturbed. And same goes with other things because of disruption which was happened because of COVID in my second example. So now the firms has to struggle, firms has to have some kind of mechanism which can help them in the normative time also, and during the time when some odd situation like COVID or this preference wala issue that Tejas, we took the example in Tejas case, happened. So risk become a kind of decision variable now, because this leads to a lot of errors in the forecasting, right? So as a supply chain professional, our role is not only focused upon the having the right place, right product at the right place at the right cost and right time. We also need to understand that what is the right product and how much to be produced, and where is the right demand. Because see, the market demand is also getting fluctuated. The market you were claiming is no more a market. How do, and let us take an example of BlackBerry mobile phones. How many of you are aware about BlackBerry? I think ये आपके टाइम का रहा होगा BlackBerry. Everyone, I hope that they 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 remember what BlackBerry is. So BlackBerry is famous for what? BlackBerry Messenger, BBM. It, yes, it was famous for BBM. And BBM is what? The messaging services. They maintain this service in California. So, and they never reveal the information that exchange in the messages between two individuals. It was highly encrypted actually, right? Okay, so this company was having unique selling proposition. They had the core competency, of course, but over the period of time, they were not able to transform uh, in terms of softwares and hardwares, right? And there are a lot of other factors they which initially was a kind of warnings, and later become problems, and at last they become the risk to the company, and those risks actually hampered the business of BlackBerry Mobile. And even when they have the core competency, they actually face the problem, and they have to shut down or squeeze their business market. So market is very vulnerable, I wanted to say, because we have other competitors also. BlackBerry customers, see, there is no customer loyalty these days. No, customers are from wherever they get the better uh, options, better variety, they can move ahead with that. They're like human being. You can't expect. They're human being, of course. They we can't expect loyalty from them. So similarly, any company should not live into this myth that their company is meant for the eternal, they have the eternal life. So they have to maintain the eternity by putting more efforts into understanding what data, what customer is wanting. So data calculation, understanding the right data, how the data works, and what is the expectation of customer or the service providers or any suppliers they have, it should be well understood. So so we will not talk about how why BlackBerry failed or how we can save it, but we can't. We should focus more on understanding that data plays an important role, and not every day is a normative day. We should have a great planning for the odd days also. So we have a lot of techniques for forecasting in a normal as well as the risk environment. And like for example, ARIMA method is used for forecasting for time series data. We have other ways also for forecasting purposes. We will discuss about that also. But my more concentration is on again on the enterprise based data. So let me take you to a very important discussion. Let me take 2 minutes break. I uh, just need to see whether I have a PPT or any data available to show you. Give me a second time. Give me 1 minute only. Meantime, you can carry it out your queries if you have. You can put it into the text box. All right. So we were talking about the enterprise data and the data which is available in the industry. Are you with me on this? Clear हो रहा है आपको? So let me take you to the journey where we take care of the enterprise data so that you can understand how electronization of supply chain, which is the key theme we took as a syllabus we're talking about, works. So what do you mean by enterprise data? Please unmute yourself and start talking. Enterprise data क्या होता है? What's that? What do you mean by okay? What is enterprise all about? What is enterprise? Let me understand this thing first, because probably for you it is again something beyond. What do you mean by enterprise? Unit where the business activities are carried out. It's a firm, okay? It may be the collection, it may be a single firm, like she said, Shalini said, it could be a single firm, or it could be the collection of different firms, different branches. I'm just taking an example. Banking system. A bank may have a single branch also, right? Suppose a bank called Prathama Bank. It's a rural bank actually in UP, very famous. So it's a let me take an example of a bank with a single branch. Suppose Prathama Bank founded in 1988, for example. Its inception year is 1988, and by 1987 they had only one branch. So that enterprise or that organization has one branch, right? So one branch is a small branch with five, employees, uh, located in, suppose, Pilibhit in UP, and they are doing the rural banking services, right? So they ask people to, deposit money, and they will, give some kind of, interest over the period of time. Gradually, in the span by 1990, they have two branches. One branch is in Pilipit, and next branch is in somewhere in Bareilly, for example, in some rural location in Bareilly. So that enterprise become a organization with two branches, right? Similarly, if you see in 2000, they had now 13 branches across whole of the Uttar Pradesh. They have 13 branches. So that enterprise size grows with 500 employees now. We're serving 5 lakh, rural people, farmers and non-farmer people. Now the size is getting increased. The aggregate size is getting increased. Aggregate size means collective size of the employees and collective size of the customer they are taking care of, and the collective size of the units also, right? The number of branches. So how they communicate? How they communicate to each other? Does they require to communicate with each other? Does they require to communicate? मेरा क्वेश्चन पहले यही है, does they require to communicate? Why? Why they require to communicate? Every bank has its own, अपना अपना clientele है, अपना. Why they require to be communicated? They have every branch is separate. They have their own, problems. They have their own, issues. They required to communicate to exchange information. Okay. What else? Why they required information exchange? Why information exchange is required? Who will tell? Atul, mute yourself and tell. Why these branches of Prathama Bank required to communicate or to exchange information? Why information exchange is required among them?
So, exchange information required is because for the company progress to achieve their goal.
Okay. Satyam, would you like to add something?
Sir, basically, sir, like there are two branches of Prathama Bank, sir. So basically, if they're communicating with each other, sir, they can also know the progress of their different branches. That how much the branch is growing in the different city. So maybe this can be the reason, sir.
Okay. Aziz said, by and large, they are a single organization with n branches, n equals to 1, 2, 3, 4. But why they required to exchange information? Suppose we have 5 brothers, right? With one pair of mummy and papa. So why you want to get connected with them? You 5 brothers are doing different jobs in different part of India or maybe abroad. Why you get connected with your headquarter? For internal integrated data. Okay, Shalini said. Does it affect? I mean, your parent doesn't know. Your father is also earning good. The headquarter is also earning good. He don't want financial help from you. So why you want to get connected every time? 5 लोग क्यों 6 लोग क्यों connected है? 1 + 1 mummy papa and 5 branches, 5 son. I'm still not getting why communication is required. Why to communicate or exchange information? Because there are a lot of decisions they have to carry out. Decisions like you know purchasing a land. Decisions like investments, right? Probably they are into a lot of legal disputes, so they have to fight together, right? So they have to have aligned with each other for a lot of reasons, unspelled and clear reasons, financial reasons, legal reasons, right? So the information should be exchanged, because if your company has a branches, then they have to act commonly. They have to act as a uniform enterprise with uniformity in terms of the norms they are following. So whatever headquarter decides, every branch of Prathama Bank has to follow. Whatever bank rate they have decided, whatever interest rate they have decided, that should be equally known to every branch manager. So that's how information exchange is required. Is that okay? Same goes with RBI and every bank. They're also having the parent and child relationship. So the bankers bank or the central bank, RBI, wanted to align all the banks through a network so that information exchange can be happened in a live fashion. They are connected to a live information, right? Now, how you connect with your father? How you connect with your parents? Suppose Manish, you are doing job in Kerala and your parents are in Dehradun. Tell me the modes you can get connected with him, with them. Manish, what could be the possible way to get connected with your headquarter, with your parents?
Sir, through telephonic or message.
Okay, let us talk about you, Manish, as a person in 1970s. So how you got connected with your headquarter? Through Telegram, through
Yes,
Indian letters, so postcards.
yes,
I
postcard.
hope you all can understand that there was a convention way of communication. There was a convention way of information exchange. You send the postcard to them and for the seasonal greetings, right? And for any emergency, you have the telegram. For sending the parcel, you have to send the money or exchange the money to them as the parents grow old. Your father is your father is getting pension, but it is so less. So you're contributing to their financial health. So you're doing the exchange to a that time it was the latest thing. It was the advanced version, advanced thing. So you were using Telegram. Your economy was Telegram driven. And gradually, when you entered into 1990s and 2000 for this decade, you are using other mode of payments, other mode of communication. Instead of doing mailing, now you're using email. Instead of talking over the phone, you are now talking through video conferencing. Instead of giving the money through Telegram, you can transfer the money through a lot of modes. No, it was Western Union earlier. Now you can transfer money through a lot of payment apps, right? Or maybe e-banking to make it more secure. You are using e-banking version. So through this analogy, and similarly, the rest of your four brothers, or in my example, rest of the four brothers are doing. Rest of the other, child of this children of this father is doing. So your headquarter is now connected financially, right? Functionally, morally, legally with the other branches. So that the communication will be flawless, right? And they are on the same page without disturbance. They are talking the same language, right? So that's how information is a live information should be exchanged among them. So Prathama Bank, if you compare Prathama Bank of 1970s or 80s and the Prathama Bank of nowadays, since the number of stakeholders got increased, the investors got increased, and in order to avoid any kind of information mischief, they want every branch to be connected. And same goes with the banks also, right? Banks are, if you talk from the banks from perspective of corporate banks or uh, uh, like Prathama Bank was having one example we took from Prathama Bank. Like if you talk from the perspective of any commercial bank, they are connected to each other. Suppose Satyam took loan from Dehradun, IDBI Dehradun, Industrial Development Bank of India, and he defaulted, and he wanted to take another loan from Coimbatore. so that bank can object, because the bank data is well connected. The two branches are well connected. So when the Satyam document come, application comes, his PAN card comes, he will be traced, right? So for any enterprise like banks, we took an example, police, for example, local intelligence, for example, or any big company, they have to place their information or data on record as well as for the live, exchange as well. So these all are the example of enterprises, and they are using enterprise data, right? So any piece of data which is more useful, that is, we call it information, information, and we are talking from the perspective of enterprise data. So data is more, unstructured. So now let us take an example again for the banks. Ujjwal, suppose you are the bank manager now. You become, CEO to that bank. I call you KV Kamath. KV Kamath was he got a lot of tenure during his chairmanship with or CEOship with ICICI Bank. Very famous name. Have you heard about him? Ujjwal, KV Kamath. Have you heard his name? I think we lost him. Ujjwal, Ujjwal सो गया. Ujjwal, you there? Okay. Ujjwal is very well here with us. Have you heard about KV Kamath Sahab? So it's a signal is an issue. Okay, let me take somebody else. Shalini, let us take Shalini is Chanda Kochar, okay? Who is Chanda Kochar, Shalini?
Sir, ICI, she's the presently chief executive officer of ICICI.
Okay. Now Chanda Kochar want to take some decision like loaning someone, no? Right? So what he initially check while loaning someone, you want to give a loan, a hefty loan to someone, some big company, what do you check? Check whether that particular applicant has took loan from any of your branch or any other bank, right? You do a kind of scrutiny of his document, and when if he took a branch any loan from other branch or other bank, what is the payment tendency, what is the credibility of that person or the organization. So how you can understand the credibility? By fetching information about the person who took the loan earlier. Is it?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, so actually what is happening, if it is the record of it's a case of your own organization, you normally go for exploring data which is available into central server. We call it server. Server is basically it's a system, the central system which stores data, and as per requirement you can very well fetch data from the central server or making any decision or taking any information about anyone. So you can give him the green signal, he's applicable to take is appropriate to take the loan since he has not taken any loan. And if he or that organization has already taken the loan, the repayment is good, so credibility is high, we can pay for the loan to them, right? It's entirely based on the payment history,
Credibility. Yes.
credibility, and which is reflected through a credibility
Civil.
of an individual.
So there are
Yes.
various factors like CIBIL score also. We see his
Ah, ah.
capacity to pay through his if he's a businessman, then
Correct, correct.
the
Lot of
ITR and a lot of factors.
so these factors you put it into parameters, and you have all the required information related to these factors into a kind of your records, and you simply make a kind of standard versus value you got for that individual. If the value are at par with the standard value you have, like she said, credibility. What do you call it? CBC.
CIBIL score, sir.
Civil score. So civic score should be matched with the standard value. If it is much higher, then he's well and good. But if it is lower than that, you will hesitate to give the loan he applied for. So there are a lot of things actually. So my point is this: you are simply comparing the information. You're simply comparing the standard with the information or data available about that individual, the applicant. So for the bank or for any organization which has to take decisions whether to give the loan or not, whether to invest, whether to make supplier your partner, whether to start producing the product for the client, whether to take the contract or not, it's entirely based on information. So your every decision is based on information, and that information should be available to you. So the enterprise normally these days have a department which takes care of information, and the information is digitally recorded. So the information technology can be used for storage of that information into some servers. From that server, any employee who is authorized to take decisions can take decision based on the data available on those servers, right? So we will call it ERP at the later stage, but just to make you much clear, we were discussing about enterprise data. So data which is available within the enterprise across the branches for any kind of operation decision, right, is called enterprise data. Any doubts on this? Is it clear to everyone? Any doubts on this? Please respond if you want to ask something. Okay. So, right. Okay, okay. Now let us talk about the industrial data. Industrial means which is important for us, which is the ecosystem data, the industry we are working on. And the data is important because industry affects us, our surrounding affects us. Because the data is basically a data related to existing set of customers, markets, right, which you are planning to get into, or about your competitors, right? The data is more about industry. The data is more about how the industry has behaved in last couple of days, couple of hours, right? And how this industry data could be useful for making decisions. It's more about a lot of things. It's about how the industry is getting fund. What are the prominent banks you can get loan from? What could be the potential suppliers you can take partnering with them and take their services for your for your business processes. It could be the industrial data which is being generated by not by industry, by some other people like consumers, right? And the data, normally the industry data is big, right? It has bigness. It is big and it is something sometimes confusing, very unstructured. The data is normally very unstructured. And if you compare the data which is enterprise data is well structured, because you have records which are very standardly maintained. When you talk about laser are to be maintained by as per the convention of accounting standards. So you maintain your financial data as per accounting standards. So they are well structured. So enterprise data is normally structured, and there is no difficulty to interpret that data, to analyze that data for making further decisions. So there is no, much difficulty normally decision makers or operation manager faced when they are dealing with the enterprise data. The difficulty comes when they are talking about industry data. Industry data become a kind of a problem to interpret, challenge, not problem, challenge to interpret, and how we can use it for benefits. So let us talk about industry data for a couple of minutes. So what it incorporates? It incorporates a lot of things. It incorporates data about your competitors, data about their efforts they're making into new products, right? It talks about the industrial trends. It talks about how customer perceive the industry, what is the possible swings in their moods in terms of preferences they have. They talk about other possible entrants into the market. They talk about the government change in policy or potential changes in the policy. They talk about any kind of foreign investment, which is basically which can disturb the whole industry, which can change the dynamics of the industry. It talks about a lot many of unspelled things, right, which you never know. Now, an intelligent company which is into bullish mode of expansion or doing a very, very good job, and they want to co-survive or coexist in the industry, for them, data analysis beyond enterprise data is becoming very essential. So industrial data become the talk of town. Industrial data is very important these days, and majority of industrial data, as I've said, it is big data. For supply chain managers, understanding the big data become a kind of a new challenge, because big data is extremely larger data, right? It talks about a lot of multiple patterns, lot of trends, lot of association, and normally the big data talks about more about the consumer or the market. They talk about the changing patterns, the behavior of the customers, right? So for a good company, for a great player, understanding big data can give you a cutting edge over your competitors, right? So big data, as the name suggests, the data is in uh, it's trillions, in a microsecond in a couple of hours you're generating from the sources. The big data is generating the data is generating in volumes, right? Trillions of terabytes, right? And a big data, as I've said, it has a lot of attributes. It has a lot of issues with. It is in volume. It is very volatile also. So you have to take very, very quick decisions sometimes, right? And they are stored in the cloud, and you have the system. You must have the system to retrieve the data and apply the right technique to interpret it. And the biggest advantage with big data is it is available, and its application is into every industry. If you are a government agency, you should use big data through the public domains, right? In the healthcare also, in medical, and I mean, there is no exception of big data, because big data is having 5 attributes. You can note down if they are in volume, no doubts. Volume is the first thing, that big data comes in volume. They are in volume. They are into variety. It is in structured form also, and it is unrestricted form as well. And it has a velocity. Has a velocity. Velocity means what? Velocity means the speed of generation of data. Trillions of websites are there. Thousands or hundreds of websites are there. We have Telegram, we have Twitter. People keep on posting something or reposting something. It could be fruitful for your company to make decisions, to understand the pulse of the or preferences of the customers. It has the veracity. Veracity means uh, it is the extended definition of big data. It talks about the quality of the data. So the data is having the veracity, and the data required a kind of refinement also, right? And it's very exhaustive in terms of its application. So now in today's class, we try to understand that uh, decision making matters, and we need data for good decision making. And for good decision making, we have to manage the in-house show through the enterprise data. And sometimes we actually look forward for the industrial data as well to make good decisions. And in that case, we have to look forward for the industry data, which is normally big in nature, because there are a lot of sources of that data. Whereas in enterprise data, we are the only source which generate the data. We as a company generate the data itself, and we have very, very limited set of suppliers, very limited set of customers. So data is in control with us. We can control the data. Its generation is a storage and etc. So we will continue this interesting topic tomorrow, and this course is about e-logistics and e-supply chain management. We'll continue this, but data analysis remains the essential part of this, because by and large, all the industries are taking their decisions electronically, and supply chain and the industries are not an exception. Thank you so much for today. Meet 2 p.m. in the morning tomorrow. Please log in by 1:55.